Welcome back to the LarryB YouTube channel. In today's class, we are going to learn how to make this elegant puffy detail that we have here. You can see how puffy it is. I made it with just satin. There is no added interfacing to this, but if you can add interfacing if you want, especially if your fabric is not strong. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. I'm going to take you through how I was able to cut and sew this. If this is something you'd like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so I'm using this satin fabric for this tutorial. It's like a bubble effect, so I'm going to be cutting a full flare for this. Okay, so depending on where you are placing this, you take measurements of where you are placing it. It can be on your waist, it can be anywhere. So after taking the measurements, you can add a little inches, few inches to it, so that you'll be able to gather the excess to even give you more bulk effect. Okay, so after that measurement that you have, you are going to divide it by 6.28 to get the radius of your flare. For me, I'm just going to use a radius of 6 inches. This is a tutorial. Okay, I'm going to use a radius of 6 inches, and the total length of the flare is going to be around 12 inches. So if I had 12 plus 6, I'll have 18 inches. So now my fabric, I'm going to mark the 18 inches, and then I'll put it on fold by 2, and then again we are going to fold by 4. Like I said, it's a full circle flare. So that is how a full circle flare is folded. So you should make sure that you have 18 inches by the time you fold like this again. So I'm just going to check. If I don't have enough, then I'm going to use the other side. Okay, I have 16 here. I'm going to shift it again and check that I have 18 on this side as well. So I have 18 now. Okay, I have 18 now. So I'm just going to check if I have 18 diagonally as well, because I'm going to measure the 18 all round. Okay, so I have it. I'll just go ahead now and mark 18 inches on it, because this fabric is quite big, so that I can cut it and then I'll have something smaller to work with. Okay, so you can see I've marked 18 inches all around now, and then 18 inches is marked from the starting point, which is like the equal point here. So you can see. Then I'm going to take my scissors and I'll cut around it. So after cutting around the 18 inches on the upper part, I'm going to measure and cut the radius as well. Remember I said I'm working with a radius of 6 inches. So 6 inches all around. And then the length is how bulky you want it to be too. So how long you want it to be. I'm going to like fold into 2, so this is fine for me. So I'm removing the radius now, which is 6 inches. So this fabric is rumpled, so I'll go ahead and iron it first before we continue. So that's my radius, and then I'm going to cut it out. So I open one side of the flare, and this is what we have. Okay, this is the full flare that we have. So I've gone ahead to iron it now, and this is what we have. It's on fold. Okay, remember I'm placing this across the shoulder, so it's going to be from shoulder to waist for both front and back. The actual length that I'm working with is 16 inches. I just added excess so that I can gather it for the purpose of tutorial. But if you're doing yours, you can add more excess. You can add like even up to 7, 8, 10 inches so that you can gather the upper part as well. So if you notice, you see that there is a side that is small. Okay, from the waistline it's just a little bit, it tapers all the way to the upper part, to the shoulder part. So the way I folded it, this is going to be the shoulder part. Okay, unfold. This is the front, this is the back. This is going to be the shoulder, and this open part is going to be the waist for both front and back. So for me to have that small waist, if you want something equal on both sides, you can maintain the measurement. But because I want my waist to be small, okay, the puff on the waist, I want it a little smaller. So between 4 to 5 inches, I'm going to mark from this upper part here. I'm marking 4 to 5 inches downwards, and then I'm going to try to blend it in like this. So that part, I'm going to go ahead now and cut it off. So it's going to be smaller by the time I gather it. You can see it's going to be smaller than what I have coming up. So now to gather it, I'm going to be using this straight fabric. This fabric is going to measure the space that I'm going to be putting this. Remember I said 16 inches for front, 16 inches for back. That's going to be around 32 inches. Okay, this is even more than 32, so I'm going to cut it off a little bit. So now I'll go ahead and gather the hem first. So you can run a loose gather stitch and then drag it, or you can just notch it at strategic points and go ahead to gather, depending on whatever it is that works for you. So what I'm going to do now is to gather all of this hem to fit into one side of this small fabric. This fabric is small, so the idea is just for this fabric to help me draw this close up. By the time I gather it, is now going to give me a puffy effect. So now this just measures about 2.5 inches. So I'll go ahead now and gather. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew it. You can see this is the hem. I gathered the hem to this 2.5 inches. So now on the other side, you can see I've placed notch on the angles as well. So I'm going to match it with this, and then I'm going to sew. So now that's why I said you should add a little bit to your waistline. So if I match this notch to this, I have a little excess. So this little excess that I have here is what I'm going to be gathering here. Okay, I hope you understand this. Once you cut out your flare, let me try to re-explain again. So I'm going to use this to cut out a small flare. So once you cut out this flare and then you cut the radius, you're going to cut open one side just like we did, and you're going to have your flare like this. So what I did was just to fold into 4 again, like this. Fold it into 4 again, and then you place your notches on the angles here and here. You do the same thing for the radius, that's the waist part. You place notches there as well. This is just to guide you when you are gathering. So when I open it up now, you can see my notch. I have one here, I have one here, I have one here, and I have the same on the radius. That is what I have here. So when I wanted to gather this straight one to it, I divided that into 4 as well and placed notches so that it can guide me. You can see them notch to notch here. So now I have gathered the waistline. Now I'm going to gather the radius back to it. What we gathered earlier was the flare. That's the lower part, which is the big one. That's what we gathered. So now what we are gathering now is to bring the big one to the small one, which is this small part. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is this one is just to make it easy for me so that I will have something to gather it to. What I'm actually gathering is from the radius to the hem. But with this, because I've already gathered this to this, it's just going to make my work easier. So now I'm going to try to match the notches against each other, and the excess that I have, I'll gather it. And you can see that the hem, the open part here, I just closed it up. I placed them on I placed them close to each other from hem to the radius, and then I sew so that it can give me a neat finish like this. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and gather this back by placing them notch to notch. So once you have the first notch like this, I'm going to hold with my pen, and then I'll take the second notch, look for where the second notch is as well. So the excess that you have here is what you are gathering. I'm going to hold with my pen as well. The third notch, I'm going to look for it, and then I'm going to place it here. There are several ways you can do this ruffle. This is just one of the simple ways. Okay, there are several, like 2-3 methods that you can you can use to make this. If you would like tutorials on them as well, let me know in the comment section. So I'll go ahead, trim off this excess that I have, and then I'm going to gather this. So after gathering this, I'll trim the excess that I have from this band, then we'll close it. Okay, so now I have gathered this, you can see. So like I said, the excess that I have from this band that I used to gather, I'm going to cut it off. Okay, so now after trimming off this excess, we are going to cut out the actual band that we are going to sew this puff to, this ruffle that we have. We are going to cut the band that we are going to sew it to. So for the band, you need to measure the waist. That's the space that you're going to be placing this. Okay, it can be your waist, can be your shoulder, like I said. So I have 28 here. So I'm going to bring in a 28 divided by 2 is 14. So I put this on fold now, and then I'm going to measure it. I measured 15 inches because I'm going to turn it on the hem. So just like I did here, on the shoulder is going to be a little wider. So here, depending on how wide you want it to be, let me do 4.5 inches. And then on the hem area here, I'll do maybe 1.5 or 2 inches. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect. So I'll cut 2 of these. So you can just put this on fold so that I can cut the 2 together. That's if your fabric can, and if you cannot, we'll cut it separately. So I'll grab my scissors now. I hope you see what I'm doing. I'll grab my scissors now, and then I'm going to cut this out. So I'll place it on this now and cut out the second one as well. So if you have interfacing like gum stay, you can add to this. So I have cut this out, 2 of it, then I place them on each other and then sew. So the part that is straight, that's not the part that will curve. The straight part, I want to sew it close, you can see on the sides as well. So I'm going to turn it to the right side. Please, you can see my seam line. That's why I'm using a different color of thread. So this part is not equal, so I'm trimming it to be the same. So that's the curved part. That's the part we are going to be sewing to the ruffle, and then the straight part is what is going to rest on your shoulder. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it to the right side. You can take it to your ironing table and fold in 1/2 inch on both sides so that you just insert the ruffle to it. Okay, so once you do it like this, we are going to iron it flat. Then after ironing it flat, I'm going to go ahead and sew this. Okay, so what you just do is to insert this into it. You can sew on this side and then you flip over. So this is going to be longer because I did not take into consideration the length. Okay, remember, once you folded it like this, it's going to be longer. So I'm just going to go ahead now and recheck so that I can reduce what I have here. Okay, I'm going to reduce it a little bit, and then I'll go and resew it. So please take that into consideration when you are doing yours. That's the mistake that I made. Remember, what I'm sewing it to is 14 inches. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't have more than 14 inches here. Okay, so it's just a little bit more. I'll trim that part off and then resew this part so that I can sew it here. So what I'm going to do is just to iron this like I explained. Then after ironing it, I'm going to sew this in such a way that all of this seam allowance is going to be inside. Okay, and then I'm going to sew. So I'll do this and bring it back to show us over. So after sewing the band to it, this is what it looks like. So just sew it across anywhere you want to sew it. So you can use, see, I just pinned mine, and you can see how puffy this is looking even without adding any interfacing to this. So my fabric is quite strong. Like I said, it is satin fabric, but if yours is soft, you can add interfacing so that your puff can come out well, just like what we have here. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.